Show me the money.
Looking good, but I think I'm taking too long.
Spot for a Glock. I took a loss over floss, but still got a knock.
Money! I'm gonna call Jerry. Does that make you feel good just to say that?
All right, show me the money. NFL picks for championship weekend right here. Just 3 football games left in the season. Joining me today on the hotline to do his picks here. We talked to him back in week 10 about his Giants. Justin Diaz is back with us here. Justin, how are you?
I'm doing great, Mike. Always a pleasure being on with you. I love talking to you about football. Thanks for having me on. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good here. And I got to say here, definitely a lot of fun this weekend with the football. Before we get to it, though, since you're a Giant guy, what are you looking forward to this offseason with this franchise? What do you think they got to do?
What am I looking forward to? That's a loaded question because, oh, man, there's usually not much to look forward to as a Giants fan. I would say there's so many different directions they could go, and there's so much uncertainty. So I'm very curious how they're viewing it from the quarterback perspective, because I feel like if they had a top 2 or 3 pick, it'll be a pretty easy decision. You go with Drake May or Caleb Williams. Having the 6th pick, it's not nearly as straightforward. They might not like any of the guys that are going to reach them. Trading up is going to be come at a tremendous cost this year, given how highly the prospects are looked at. And then there's also the Daniel Jones element, where he still has another year at a very high salary. As terrible as they all look, and including him, it's still, I don't think it's fair to say he's horrible or he's a complete bust and you can't succeed. The whole team is terrible. So there's so much uncertainty around quarterback that I am looking forward to seeing how that story unfolds.
Yeah, for sure. Here, definitely think that's an interesting point to watch the Giants too, because obviously, I mean, like their options are kind of limited, because I feel like it's either you trade up to 1 with the Bears, you're kind of left with whoever the 3rd or 4th guy on the board is.
Exactly, and you can't force it. I mean, I don't know what they think of the other guy. The LSU guy, Jaden Williams. What is his name? I'm sorry. Can you remind me?
Jaden Daniels.
Jaden Daniels. It's going to be very interesting to see how the quarterbacks, that whole, like who takes who trades up. Even the Bears, there's a lot of uncertainty. I think they'll take Caleb, but there's a lot. I feel like, at least in the media and the fan base, it's very divided if they should trade the pick or if they should just keep Fields or if they should take Caleb. So there's a lot of drama that's going to unfold with who takes quarterbacks, who is the. I mean, I still think Caleb's going to be taken first, but he struggled a little bit this year. So it's definitely going to be a very interesting story to watch unfold.
Yeah, for sure here. And let's get to divisional round recap here. Because obviously, I shared my thoughts at the top of the podcast. What was your take from the last weekend's games?
I thought it was a great weekend of games. The Ravens-Texans game wasn't very close after the first half, I think. So to give context, I bet on the Niners and Ravens meeting in the Super Bowl. Actually, to be specific, I bet on the Niners beating the Ravens in the Super Bowl. So I had a very vested interest on them both winning. I'm sitting there watching the Ravens-Texans game, and I'm like, great, like I'm going to lose this bet in the very first game. I think the Texans took a freaking punt return for a touchdown. Once those crazy special teams play happen against you, you think that's how you lose when you're betting on a heavy favorite. But then the Ravens defense just completely shut down the Texans. Lamar had a great game. So that game was, it unfolded pretty much how you expected in the second half. Packers-Niners game, the Niners did not look good. It really, Brock was missing throw after throw. Debo is obviously questionable to play now. So as someone who needs the Niners to win again, I'm not nearly as confident as I would have normally been with them going up against the Lions. Who does that leave us with? Bills Chiefs, obviously, great game. That I was rooting for the Bills just from I'm kind of sick of seeing the Chiefs win. I'm sick of seeing Taylor Swift celebrate in the box in the suite. Great game, though. I mean, I think people automatically by default want to blame Josh Allen a little bit, saying, he could have made a better decision on 2nd and 9 and set up for a first down, but I thought he played incredibly well. Obviously, maybe they could have handled that differently. What other game was there? Am I missing? Oh, Bucks Lions, whatever. There's nothing interesting about that game. The Lions played well. Bucks hung in there. but the Lions obviously were going to win that game the whole time. I think the most interesting game though was Bills Chiefs. That was a great game, and I feel. I don't know. I root. I think everyone roots for Josh Allen at this point, and everyone kind of, other than Chiefs fans, wanted to see them win. But it was just Mahomes, man. He just finds a way to get it done. What did you think of that game?
Oh, I thought for sure. I was like, if this is ever the year for Buffalo to do it, when they have a vulnerable cheat team, really has two weapons on the passing game and has some issues like with like the line and whatnot, I thought this would be the year for Buffalo. The fact it doesn't happen, like, makes you wonder. I don't think it's ever going to happen with this group. They might be like the Phillip Rivers Chargers, to be honest with you. They get there every year, but they just have trouble. They cannot get over the hump.
Yeah, it does feel like that. But then, and like, you want to think logically about these things. Josh Allen, I think the most pessimistic Josh Allen person would say is a top 5 quarterback. I can't imagine someone saying there's 5 quarterbacks better than him. I personally think he's second best. If you have the second best quarterback in the league, it should happen. Not should. It easily could and likely will happen at some point where you'll get over the hump. But I agree. I mean, everything was in line. The Chiefs, you said 2 weapons in offense. I mean, Kelsey's extremely slowed down, but he's still good. Rashee Rice is a nice player, but I mean, I wouldn't put him ahead of. I wouldn't call him like a number 1 receiver yet. And then I don't even know, like, Marquez Valdez Scanlon. I don't even know how to say his name anymore. he's like just a guy. They have just a bunch of guys, and Mahomes is just out there making it happen. I agree. I would assume they'll address the receiver position this offseason. Their defense is actually very good now. So this did feel like the best opportunity for the Bills to beat them, and it just didn't get done. So yeah, you can never say. I keep seeing articles: is the Bills' window closed? Your window is not closed when you have an elite MVP caliber quarterback who's 27 years old. But it's going to feel, it is starting to give me a Phillip Rivers Chargers feeling to it for sure.
Yeah, for sure here. And let's get to the games I had this week. Let's break down the games before we do the picks here. So Chiefs Ravens up first here. They did not play this year. We have Lamar and Mahomes have not met in the playoffs yet here. Ravens have basically destroyed when they've actually tried the last half of the season here. Chiefs have the Mahomes playoff experience. What do you think about this game?
I think, again, I'm very biased given the bet I placed. I do think the Ravens will win. Their defense looks unbelievable. Lamar looks great. They seem to be clicking on all cylinders. I will say there's times when I see the issues with the Ravens offense from the past, meaning just the in the pocket passing game seems to be off sometimes. And I'm sure that there was a lot of that game, Ravens Texans, was Lamar just running and making it work. And he always makes great throws. He's an incredible passer. I do think the story of Lamar isn't a traditional quarterback, or what did that one guy say? He's not quarterbacky enough. Who said that? Do you remember?
I do not remember that.
Well, it was a bullshit statement, and there's a lot of issues with it. Lamar's incredible. However, they do still sometimes worry me when they need a big pass or just a traditional quote-unquote passing game. Zay Flowers is very good, but they don't – if is a huge if a defense somehow can contain Lamar from running, there's still the question of, do they have enough in the passing game to make it work? I definitely think they do this year, and I think they'll make it work. But again, you're facing Patrick Mahomes. He's a magician. He seems to always find a way. That being said, I do like the Ravens -3. I think their defense is just going to really make it a hard day on the Chiefs, and Lamar Jackson will show enough magic to get it done.
Yeah, so we'll go ahead here. We'll go over the picks in a minute here, but in terms of just a breakdown of the night game here, 49ers-Lions here. My perspective on this game, I want to know if you agree with me here. I feel like that there is certainly house money in play for the Lions here, and I think the key to this entire game is if Debo is healthy, I think it's much easier for 49ers, but if he's not, I think Detroit has a shot to steal this.
Debo, the stats around him playing versus not playing, I believe they're 8-9 since Debo has been on the team when he does not play, and then when he does play, they're like 20 games over 500 or something. And obviously it's not just him, but he is a huge difference maker. He's so versatile. I mean, they're saying 50-50, and it's a left shoulder injury that's not broken. I mean, it's easy for me to say because I'm sitting on my couch eating wings while watching. I would imagine he's going NFC Championship game. Deebo Samuel is a very tough guy. I'd be shocked if he doesn't play. And then obviously there's the question of effectiveness. I mean, if it was his hamstring or a knee injury, I would say that would hamper him a lot more. Left shoulder, I'm sure it'll be extremely painful. They're going to inject him with God knows what, and they'll numb the heck out of it. I think he'll be able to be effective. They're going to use him like they always do, get him the ball in space. I think he plays, and I think the Niners win. But the Lions, I mean, they're such a well-coached team. They have so many weapons on offense. They're not just going to lay a dud and not show up. I do think it'll be a competitive game.
Yeah, for sure. Let's get to the pick recap here, which is what we're here for here. So last week I had Troy Moriello on. He went 2-2. He laid the 6 points to the Lions, got that right. He had the Chiefs getting the 2.5, got that one right also. He took the points to the Texans, was good for about a half. They got blown out. And also the 49ers laying a 9.5, so that was a loss. So 2-2 for Troy last week.
What did you take?
I went 2-2. I laid the points with the Ravens. I laid the points with the Lions. I lost the Niners, and I was on Buffalo. I said, this is the year Buffalo's going to do it, and they let me down at the end of the game.
I fully thought the Buffalo Bills were going to win too, so don't blame you there. I think I would have agreed with all your picks last week. I would have went the same way.
I went straight favorites last week. So on the year, Challenger team is 32-32. They're 5-5 in the playoffs. I'm 34-29-1, also 5-5 in the playoffs here. I've been very break even in the playoffs here. Because I've been on the right side of the outcome most of the ways, but the spreads a couple times have hurt me.
Picking with the spread is hard. That's why Vegas always wins. It's not easy.
It is not easy. And we're going to go ahead here. We're going to pick the games now. There's only two, so we're going to go in order here. We're going to start with the AFC Championship game. Chiefs at the Ravens. First championship game in Baltimore since the 70s. It's Sunday at 3 on Fox. The Ravens are laying 3. Justin, you said earlier taking the Ravens laying the 3. Why?
I just think the Ravens, the Ravens are clearly the best team in the league this year overall. Their defense is dominant. Lamar Jackson is playing incredible football. I just think they're going to get it done and get the Super Bowl. I'm just so excited for this game. Seeing two quarterbacks at the peak of their powers, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, both first ballot Hall of Famers. I personally think Mahomes is the best quarterback of all time. Lamar is going to be a 2-time MVP at 27 years old. I mean, this is what playoff football is all about. I can't wait for it. Ravens -3 is my pick.
I'm with you there on the Ravens here. I said it last week. When the Ravens try this year, and they have been since the second half, I'm not counting that Week 18 game, they had no desire to play that game. They were everything locked up here. Nobody's been close to them at the end of these games. They're blowing people out here. And I think this is a spot where, again, sort of like the Buffalo thing, if not now, when? You have Lamar playing at MVP level, you have a great defense, you're at home with the rowdy Ravens fans, it's like a college environment down there, it's an intense experience for the Chiefs, and I think they just don't have enough firepower to keep out the Ravens, and the run game is going to be key here. I think they're going to run the ball down their throats. I think they're going to win by a touchdown and get the Super Bowl.
Totally agree with you, Mike.
All right, second pick here. The NFC Championship game, the Lions at the 49ers, Sunday at 6:40 on Fox. The 49ers are laying 6.5. I know Justin has said he thinks the 49ers are going to the Super Bowl here, but are you laying the points?
I am laying the points, -6.5. The Niners, I mean, you can pretty much see how the game is going to unfold very early with them. If they take an early lead, they become this unstoppable force because they can lean heavily on the running game. They give the ball to McCaffrey a lot. They do a lot of these screens where they get their playmakers the ball in open space. If they go down early, like they did against Green Bay, it becomes a totally different game. I think Purdy's good, if not very good. I know there's some question marks about him after this last game. That being said, when they go down, he does tend to struggle a little bit more. I just think Debo's going to play. They're going to score early. They're going to run the ball extremely effectively. The Lions' defense isn't very good. And then once the Niners take a lead, they're so hard to stop on offense, and their pass rushers can get after Goff. And I do think they'll win the game comfortably and cover the spread.
All right, I'm going heads up here. I'm going to take the points in this game for a couple of reasons here. Number one, I think, again, The Debo thing scares me because even if he plays, he's not getting 100%, and that offense flows a lot differently when he's not at 100%. Number 2, we saw the Packers last week expose how to get Purdy unsettled by basically sending rushers right at him here, and the Lions capable of doing that. And the Lions playing with house money here, that's a lot of points he's laying in an NFC Championship game here. Like, I think there's a good chance this thing goes down to the wire anyway. So give me the points. I'll take the Lions here.
That's totally fair. The Lions are a very good team. Just to counter your point, the Packers did lay out a game plan that worked. However, the Niners do have a man by the name of Kyle Shanahan, who I personally think is the best offensive mind of our generation. He's going to game plan knowing that the Lions saw what the Packers did. They'll counter it. They'll figure it out. But, hey, I wouldn't be surprised if it's a good game. If I was betting on this spread specifically, it would be a coin toss to me. It should be. It's a very tough game to call.
All right, so to reset the picks here, we are both taking the Ravens laying the 3 in the AFC Championship game. NFC Championship game, Justin is laying the 6.5 with the 49ers. I am taking the 6.5 points with the Lions here. So those are your picks for Championship Sunday. And we'll be back in a couple of weeks here. We're taking next week off for this segment. We're going to be joined in 2 weeks by Martino Puccio for a Super Bowl betting special. We'll cover all the angles of betting the game. And I know you're probably going to put a lot of money down in this game, Justin, in the Super Bowl.
Well, I mean, I hope if the Ravens and Niners make it, my bet's already set. Because I think I said it before, but I took the Niners to beat the Ravens before the divisional round. On FanDuel, you can actually bet the Super Bowl matchup or the specific forecast. So if the Ravens and Niners both are there, I'm pretty set. I'm just going to let that ride. If not, I will see who's in it, and I'll probably take some action. It's just not as fun. It's sad what gambling's done to all of us. It's not quite as entertaining when you don't have a little action on it. But yeah, it's the new world we live in where we can make a bet just by making a few clicks on our phones. Yeah,
for sure. Here, that's one thing here. I want to point that out. That's coming up here in 2 weeks. Here, a couple things before I let you go. Here, number one, give you a TV show recommendation. Here, people are not aware you are friends with people should follow Justin on Instagram, Justin F. Diaz on Instagram, because there are some famous faces pop up on his feed every now and then.
I happen to be friends with someone who's you were asking what the show about the traders. I'm assuming traders, I think it's called. My friend Pete's on it. It's a wildly entertaining show. It's very silly. It's very eccentric and out there, but it's very cool competition. I highly recommend it. Obviously, Bias is one of my best friends is on it, but I think it's anyone that I know watches says it's hilarious and entertaining. So definitely highly recommend it.
I love the show personally, and Pete's been fun so far. I will say that.
He knows how he's an entertainer at heart. Like he knows how to entertain people. He's definitely a showman. Like has good showmanship. Wow, that was a tongue twister. He's definitely entertaining, and it's definitely worth checking the show out for sure.
Yeah, and point number 2 here, I will also throw out here, while we were on the air, the Hall of Fame results came out here. Did you happen to see who got elected?
I got the notification, but I didn't look at it because I was focused on our conversation. Adrian Beltre, Joe Mauer, and Todd Helton. Yes. That is, all 3 are very deserving. Was that Mauer's first ballot?
Yeah, Mauer and Beltre both first ballot.
Beltre was a gimme, like where you knew he would get in first ballot. I definitely think Mauer is deserving. I'm actually very impressed by the voters because Mauer, if you look at the traditional counting stats, just doesn't have them. But given he was an elite catcher for so long, which that basically doesn't exist anymore, that obviously got him in. He's probably got to be a top 10 catcher of all time by like advanced statistics. So that's good. And I feel like Helton was kind of like a borderline case to some people, but he had a great career. I think a lot of people kind of diminished what he did because he was in Colorado the whole time, but great hitter. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm going to give more thoughts, deeper detail in the 2-minute drill in a minute here, but just a couple of things to throw out here. Beltre got 95.1% of the vote. Todd Helton got 79.7%. Joe Mauer got 76.1%. Billy Wagner missed by 5 votes. He got 284 votes and he had 289 to get in.
And how long has he been on the ballot for?
This is his 9th year. He has next year's his last shot. I think he's getting in next year. He's only 5 votes off right now.
He'll 100% get in next year. That's how it works. You get the uptick if you're close and you go into your last year. I'd be surprised if anyone has ever gotten that many votes and didn't eventually get in. You might know better than me, but I feel like anyone that gets that close ultimately gets in.
Yeah, Gary Sheffield missed out. He got 63.9% of the vote. Beltran went up to 57.1%, and David Wright stayed on the ballot. He got 6.2% of the vote.
Captain America. I mean, I know he's your guy, but he's not getting in.
He's not getting in. I said on the blog earlier, I said I have no issue with him not getting in. My argument has been, like, if Chase Utley is up there getting 28% of the vote, you look at their numbers here, David Wright played 4 or less years and has very similar numbers. How is the disparity so big?
Well, I mean, it really comes down to longevity, and it's kind of silly because it's such an I love Hall of Fame voting for baseball. It's such an interesting process, and it obviously is silly and arbitrary sometimes. David Wright definitely had a long and good enough peak to get in, but then his career abruptly ended so early. So if he just managed to stay healthy enough to be mediocre for like 4 more years, he would have gotten in probably. But because he had spinal stenosis that I think his last year, I'm looking now, his last year was technically his 35, but he played token games just to get back on the field. His career was effectively over at 31. And then he played 2 more seasons where he played 38 and 37 games. If he, had a normal decline where he managed to hang on for 5 years, maybe 6, accumulated 1 to 2 WAR a season, hit 270, he'd probably get in. But because he didn't have those mediocre add-on years, that's what's preventing him, which it's silly when you think about it, but I guess voters have to draw the line somewhere.
Yeah, that's what I said. That was my argument in the post. I'm like, Chase Utley, look at his numbers. Like, I'll go with the post real quick. I'll plug it again, justinthesuffering.wordpress.com if you want to see the debate on this here. They played basically 4 more, like Utley played 4 more years than Wright, basically, in terms of actually getting on the field here. You look at their comparisons in terms of Wright has a higher batting average for his career, on base percentage, slugging percentage, OPS. He won 1 more All-Star game. He won 2 Gold Gloves. Utley, with 4 more years playing, basically only has 17 more home runs and 55 more RBIs.
Yeah, no, it's true. I truly believe there's also the fact Utley played second base, which gives him a bump because there's so few second basemen in the Hall. Actually, third base kind of is a light position for the Hall of Fame too, if I'm correct in that. It's fair. Utley's not clearly a better player. He hung on longer and was also, I think the second base does give him a bump. I don't think Wright getting in would be egregious, but I just personally don't think it's going to happen because of how quickly his career ended.
I agree. I think just based on the numbers, I don't think either of them belong in. But I mean, if Utley ends up getting in and Wright doesn't, I think I have a right to be annoyed.
Fair. I do think Utley will get in. When was is he on the ballot yet?
Yeah, this was his first year. He got 28.8% of the vote. Wright got 6.2.
Yeah, Utley is a very close case, and their peaks are pretty similar, I think. And Utley, I'm sure, will get a bump because to some people, I think he won 2 World Series, which is funny when you say a baseball player won a World Series because it's obviously such a team sport. But you know how writers the old school writers definitely value that. So it'll be interesting. I really do love Hall of Fame voting. It just creates such funny, arbitrary arguments. Like here we are. Like David Wright hasn't been. No offense to him, but he hasn't been a particularly relevant baseball player in 10 years. And I'm like his last good year is 2013. In 2024, we're arguing who had a better career and Chase Utley. And you don't really have arguments like that anymore. It's everything's so analytical and statistic driven. But there's still the Hall of Fame kind of creates this room for these funny, arbitrary arguments.
Yep, I'll go deeper into the 2-minute drill. Now you got to run, Justin. Thanks for all the time. Really appreciate it.
Of course, anytime, Mike. Pleasure talking to you as always. Thanks for having me on.